and the gauges in front of him began going crazy. John's mind screamed at him to do something, anything but fly into the spinning lightning storm of death. Lessons of nice and easy went right out the window. He jerked the stick to the left. The plane wasn't a fighter. It didn't respond quickly in the best of circumstances, and now, hurtling toward whatever this was in front of him, the aircraft didn't seem to respond at all. He jammed his thumb onto the PTT. Rick, are you there?" The radio buzzed, but no response came through. John pressed the left pedal down as far as it would go, gritting his teeth with the effort. But even as he struggled to avoid the spinning mass of doom ahead of him, he knew he wasn't going to make it. The portal seemed to be growing wider as he closed on it, and even as he banked hard left, he knew there was no avoiding it. Static electricity filled the cockpit. His hair stood on end. The sound of the engine winding down was drowned out by the roar of thunder and wind outside. John screamed as he slipped through the opening. The nose dipped low, bringing more of the strange world into view below. The abrupt change in elevation made his ears pop and his stomach lurched up into his throat. Desperately, he thumbed the ignition switch, flipping it on and off. Losing power had been one of many emergency scenarios he'd gone over during his training, but there'd been nothing about losing an engine while flying through a massive lightning portal in the middle of the sky. Shit! He white-knocked the stick, eyes scanning the ground below. Night flying at the best of times was disorienting enough, but looking down at the strange, unrecognizable landscape, it was impossible to think. He eyed what looked like a partially illuminated highway. It was relatively straight, and he decided it was better than nothing. It wasn't something ideal. Nothing about this was ideal. It was terrifying. If he could just... Something crashed into him, the impact all but knocking the wind out of John's lungs. The sound of grinding metal filled the cockpit as the plane rocked to one side. Stars danced in his vision. Outside, the world spun around him. Half a dozen floodlights illuminated a wide gunmetal gray platform, and even as his mind battled to comprehend what was happening, he realized he'd crashed onto some kind of tarmac. The right wing slammed into the tarmac, sending up a spray of sparks as aluminum groaned. The plane spun around, bringing the terrifying, swirling portal back into view. The clear blue skies he'd been enjoying moments before looking back at him through the opening. A shadow passed overhead, accompanied by a deep rumbling that reverberated through the small Cessna 172's airframe, and an aircraft appeared, smoke trailing from its strange boat-like fuselage. It didn't look like anything John had ever seen before, but it was definitely on fire and definitely in trouble. John yanked uselessly on the stick, his heels pushing hard on the brakes, trying desperately to regain control. He saw the edge of the tarmac coming up fast, and only then did he realize he wasn't on the ground. He was on some kind of landing pad thousands of feet in the air. In an instant, John knew he wouldn't be able to stop the plane before it went over, and he had no illusions about flying to safety when it did. Against all reason, John's fingers let go of the stick and fumbled with the harness. The straps fell free, and he reached for the door handle, his mind screaming at him to hurry. The door flew open, almost pulling John out with it. He lunged the rest of the way, landing on his shoulder and rolling to his back on the platform's hard surface. John looked up just in time to see the plane's nose dip. It seemed to hang there for a second, teetering on the edge. Then, impossibly slowly, it went over and disappeared. He fought the urge to vomit as he pushed himself to his knees, his vision locked firmly where his plane had just been. "Son of a bitch," he said through heaving breaths. Metal groaning brought his attention back to the strange aircraft still billowing smoke. An explosion blew out the back end, and it rolled over, then dropped out of sight below the swirling portal. Multicolored lightning flashed around the circumference, and then, almost as suddenly as it had appeared, the portal vanished with a roar of thunder. Heart pounding in his chest, John took a moment to take in his surroundings. He was definitely on some kind of aerial platform, and as he looked around, John saw it wasn't the only one. Half a dozen similar landing pads were